Hi, my name is John Broadhead, and I want to welcome our viewers all over the world, whether it's morning or afternoon, evening. Welcome to this web stream. As many of you know, Roland has produced products for professional live audio for many years. We have a decade-old track record for quality and reliability, starting with the Roland Ethernet Audio Communication Protocol, or R.E.A.C. And R.E.A.C. not only delivers audio all over, but its key is the control that it passes between all of the various Roland devices. It starts with digital snake choices, and then the merging ability of those snakes, and the best personal mixing solution out there with the M-5000s, allowing musicians to control their mix the way they always wanted to. Then we have the ability for multi-channel playback and recording with the R1000. Last but not least are the consoles, such as the award-winning M200i, M480. So all these four pieces, cornerstone pieces, make up the family of live Pro AV solutions from Roland, all working together, talking to each other in a cohesive and very integrated way. But today, we want to introduce you to the next step in our console lineup. Instead of just building something with more channels and more buses and more power, we wanted to do something unique in its class. And we truly believe we are introducing a new era in the live mixing solution space. And it all starts with these words: open, high resolution, and configurable architecture. And put those together, we affectionately referred to this as OHR.C.A. And OHR.C.A is a platform. It's a set of features that bring an amazing amount of adaptability to the live mixing process. And let me explain. Open refers to the console's ability to adapt to many different formats of inputs and outputs and protocols. So this not only includes a large variety of snakes we already have in the Roland lineup, but also protocols such as Dante and MADI, Wave Sound Grid, others being developed and ones to come. The high resolution part refers, first of all, to the fact that everything is running at 96 kilohertz end to end. And all of our peripherals have been designed for 96K from the beginning, starting with the S4000 digital snake back in 2005. From the preamps running high-end 24-bit A to D converters, and then all the carefully selected pieces and components and processors in between, you can be guaranteed an OHR.C.A console will have pristine sound that is noticeably better, and high resolution delivers that. The configurable architecture piece refers to, I think the most important feature is its ability to adapt to the application it's needed in. You can essentially build the mixer you need. How many input channels do you need? How many buses, auxiliary buses, groups, matrices? Do you need surround output, or is left-right fine? All of the elements that are typically fixed in most mixers are completely flexible with OHR.C.A. Just punch in what you need and you're ready to go. The configurability factor equally applies to the user interface and workflow. How you work with faders and buttons and knobs and screen are adaptable to how you are used to working already, and perhaps some new ideas that will let you mix more efficiently than ever. And that is what configurable architecture delivers. So I'm sure you want to see more, but before we do that and get into more detail, let's take a look at the first console in the OHR.C.A family, the Roland M-5000 live mixing console. Welcome back. So we have an M-5000 in front of us here, and let's take a little closer look at it now. Everything starts with defining your internal structure and what we call configurable architecture. So let's look at that. We hit the menu button, hit setup, and mixer configuration. And in front of us, we see 128 audio paths that we can choose from. Input channels, how your mains are set up, whether you have left, right, or all the way to 5.1 surround with a down mix. Subgroups, auxiliary buses, mix minus, matrices, all of those contribute to how many mix paths you need. You can see at the bottom here, given our current structure, 60 channels, etc., we've got 37 remaining resources to use. The bottom, you can see a nice graph how each one of those elements take up the 128 space. Let's look at an example. We've got 60. Perhaps for this particular application, we need another 12. And we hit 12 and we add them, and now you can see we have 72 mixing channels. How about our mix buses, our auxiliary buses? Let's add an odd number, maybe 15 more. And we add them, and now you can see our bus count is up to 31. And this is the power of this console. Being able to adapt, for example, a monitor position needs to have a lot more auxiliary buses than a broadcast position, which may be needing more matrices, just depending on how you mix. And so instead of having a console that is rigorously attached to certain structure, I can jump way up to a ton of input channels or a ton of mix buses and balance it the way I need. So very powerful feature in configurability. So let's move then to the openness of the input and output capabilities by looking at the back panel. If you notice here, we have 16 inputs by 16 outputs, analog XLR. The USB port is a 16 by 16 audio interface. Really nice to have for playback or for recording. We've got an iPad connector for connecting your iPad and charging it and even playing back stereo or recording to your iPad. A LAN port for wireless control and control by RS-232 and GPIO. We've got ASEBU digital connectors. Also 2 ports of R.E.A.C. along with a backup split that aids us in redundant audio transmission. Those are 40 by 40, again 96 kilohertz ports. On the far side, right side, we have expansion slots. So even though there's lots of input ready to go, you can connect a Dante card, MADI, Wave Sound Grid, or even add another R.E.A.C., 2 ports of R.E.A.C. actually. So this results in a total of 300 inputs by 296 outputs, all running at 96 kilohertz. And even more are possible if you run the console at 48 kilohertz. And this adds to the fact that we can already connect all of the existing Roland digital snakes. And we have one of the most extensive lineups available. The S4000 modular snake. The 2416 is our newest model that features a cascade ability to other snakes such as the 1608, the O.H.R.C.A, and even the very compact subsnake concept in the S0808. Which includes the ability for it to be powered over Ethernet. So you don't even need AC power wherever you put it on the stage or in a stage pocket or in a remote location such as the middle of a room or field. So with that amazing amount of I/O flexibility and configurability, how do we patch all of that together? We simply go into the patch bay and you have the ability to look at it from a channel perspective, a bus perspective, inputs, outputs. What we have is the mixing channel perspective here. So this is channel 1. I will just hit the input for it, and you can see that the category comes up for where I'm pulling from. So whether it's a R.E.A.C. port A or a Dante input or maybe the channel 3 on my USB interface, whatever it may be, I just pull up the slot or the connector first of all. Right now it's set to console, and I just pick whichever input is on my console. Very straightforward. You can notice a second column here called alternative. And what that allows you to do is have a secondary, for example, microphone ready to go, a lead vocalist. This is a very quick way to set an alternative mic. So if something happens to the first one, in a touch of a button, you've switched over to a completely different mic source. as well as a track column. And that allows us to be able to access a particular playback channel in the case of running theater, playback, whatever it may be. So a third type of input on a single mixing channel. I can also look at my input view, and in this particular case, what's powerful about the M-5000 is that you can patch an input directly to an output without having to go through a mixing channel, take up a mixing path. So in that particular case, I'm able to, in this particular input, patch it directly and have a 48 volt control phantom pad gain control of that input preamp as it goes directly to an output. This is very useful for running comms or a click track or tie lines. You don't need to take up faders in that case. You just patch it directly from an input to an output, and away you go without having to take up more mixing paths. So now let's take a look at how the faders are organized. What we have here is 3 banks of 8 as well as 4 assignable faders. The 3 banks are used in a number of different ways. The scroll button, for example, is able to scroll through 24 at a time. So you can see as I do this, each 8 bank jumps as you use the scroll button through the number of channels that you have configured, which, as we've learned before, can be completely configurable. If you want to treat each bank separately, then all you need to do is hit the isolate button. So in this case, I've isolated the drums essentially and bass to that bank of 8. Now, as I scroll, you can see this is not scrolling anymore, and now you're just scrolling through this bank. So I can set this to another group of 8. I can isolate that. Now I can perhaps go to my DCA or my output bus level and scroll through that. So now I have auxiliary buses on this particular bank. So these are now completely isolated from one another. If I unisolate these and go back to my full list of channels, if you have a lot of channels, the challenge is jumping to where you need to get to quickly. So we've dealt with that by using the concept of anchor points. And what we mean by that is if I just hit the function button, I can go into setting anchors. I'll do that, and now you can see that there's a little checkbox under each particular mixing channel. You can see a checkbox under kick, and then maybe under the beginning of our horn section with the alto sax, and then the beginning of our string section with the violin. We set little checkboxes there, and those are jump points. So how that works, once they're set, is I just double press these scroll buttons, and it brings up jump points in whatever bank I'm in. In this case, you see where we had jump points, kick, beginning of a horn section with alto sax and violin. So if I just hit that jump point, you can see this bank instantly jumps to where the string section begins. So very handy way to jump between a large amount of channels. I also have the ability to completely set my own user layers, define what I want to what fader. I've got the ability to do sends on fader, which allows me to mix all of my auxiliary buses, especially in a monitor position. Let's look at another handy feature when it comes to DCAs. That's the ability to assign a lot of channels to a single control. Let's isolate this and move to our DCA layer. And in this case, I've just defined drums or horns or strings as a DCA fader. In that case, I've got them up here. I just double press that particular DCA, and you can see it's spilled out to the left. Very handy way to quickly mix groups, spill them, adjust them a little bit, and then go back to the single fader approach. On the assignable area, very easy to assign what you want and dedicate that fader to that particular channel no matter what. So again, I can hit the function button. Again, the menu pops up in the scribble strip. Let's assign something to this fader, and let's select it. And now let's use the lead vocalist here. Let's choose this guy here. And now the lead vocalist is assigned to this fader, and you can see as I move it, the lead vocalist fader in the mixing channel also moves. So that is a quick introduction to how the faders work on the console. Let's move our attention up to this slanted area up top. It starts with this beautiful 12-inch touchscreen monitor with a great interface that we will look at in a few minutes, with 16 knobs, 16 buttons that match to what's on the screen and light up accordingly. We've got a touch and turn ability, so whatever parameter you hit, you just touch it and turn it. Very simple to control anything you want. We've got a 2 solo bus area control here. We have a monitor bus, 2 monitor buses controllable here. We have a talkback system with a built-in mic, 3 talkback areas to assign. All of your scene management, display, next, recall buttons are here. We've got full recorder control, as well as full control of your R1000 multi-channel recorder if one is connected. Great control there. Last but not least is our user assignable area here with 8 buttons, 4 knobs, 3 banks, so you can have at your fingertips those functions that are essential or you need rapid access to. Very easy to assign. I just hold the display button down, touch and turn a particular knob that I want to assign, and then go ahead and pick anything highlighted in orange that you want this knob to control. Let's say it's the gain for one of our key channels, and now this is assigned, as you can see, to that particular channel. Let's take a closer look at the user interface. What we see here is 8 columns that match whatever fader bank is currently selected. In this case, it's channels 1 through 8. And the channel strip you can see here starts with the meter, gain stage, EQ, dynamics, delays, auxiliary sends, panning, and then your gain controllable by an encoder, perhaps another send. These are assignable, but notice the colors match whatever's happening in this lower area to be able to control very easily. Last but not least, down at the bottom, you've got if your channel is involved in any DCAs or mute groups, very at a quick glance. So this is touchscreen, so if I want to adjust the EQ, I will just tap that particular icon. And now, notice my encoders have changed to match what I can control. For example, my Q or my gain for that particular band. Or I can simply touch it and control it this way. You can see the white line nicely curves to show your actual EQ curve. Very beautiful interface. So you can also see across the top that we now have our signal path there. So I can just look at my gain stage here, phantom. Here's where I can quickly swap to that other input we looked at in the patch bay. I can go to my dynamics area. And with this, we give you 2 processors that are selectable. So they don't have to be 1 gate, 1 compressor. Perhaps in some cases you want a ducker and a compressor, or 2 compressors. You can do that with this. In addition, you can also change at what point in the signal path the dynamics come, either post EQ like it is now, or pre-EQ. And now you can see they are out in front of the EQ. We've got delay control for inputs and outputs, again in any units you wish to use, as well as your auxiliary send levels. Encoders light up to control 8 at a time here, or you can use send on faders. You've got your pan ability, again touch control. If you happen to have a 5.1 system, you have that full placement in the surround space, as well as how you assign your channels to DCAs. That's an example of the input path. Same types of things on your output. You've also have the ability to assign user groups and users that will have control and accounts that you can control. The graphic EQ section is here. We have 32 31 band graphic EQs dedicated, and control it from, again, your encoders or from your faders below. You can also choose to switch it to an 8-band parametric EQ. On the other section here, we have effects processors. We have 8 stereo or 8 dual mono processors that have all the great Roland effects and reverbs and delays, in addition to some classic vintage effects like the choruser or the space echo, as well as more elaborate effects, dynamic EQ and multi-band compression. So this rounds out quite a lot of power here that's all controllable from your user interface. So a lot of this is controllable with an iPad, whether it's wireless or directly connected with a docking cable. You're able to put it on the little shelf here and either put it there for an additional display or walk around with it. Even when it's connected, it not only charges your iPad with the cable, but also allows stereo playback or stereo recording. Connecting a Mac or Windows PC to the USB port allows the remote control software, what we call RCS, to run. And in this application, you have full control of the console as well. But what's more, it gives the ability to spin off independent windows. And this lets you set up an additional screen or two off to the side with all your important windows in plain sight. And you may do this on a 22-inch monitor and display your meters, for example. And additionally, you can take our M48 personal mixing solution, particularly powerful for hybrid monitor position where the frontline talent being mixed to their in-ears in a traditional way, while other musicians such as drummers or keys, orchestra, cannot be on this dedicated mixing unit. With the power of R.E.A.C. on the back, as well as embedded power, you have a direct connection to one of these 48s that can sit right on this shelf. And what's handy is on the screen, whenever you select a particular M48, this unit will instantly clone or instantly mirror what they have. Connect it to one of your monitor buses and just jump back and forth between what your musicians are hearing through their particular M48 or those using busing on the console. The last cornerstone piece, as we talked about at the beginning, is the R1000. It rounds out the family of devices that adds just a ton of value to this whole solution. We're able to connect it and get up to 48 channels, 24 channels at 96 kilohertz, but you can very easily just sync two of them together for a full 48 at 96. And when inserted between your I/O and this console, you not only get full control of arming tracks and routing, starting, stopping, you get playback for sound checks and training, all through the identical signal chain as your live sources with no patching required, complete with preamp compensation if you have to change the actual physical gain. So the M-5000 clearly fits very well into our existing ecosystem, and it really introduces a new generation of powerful and adaptable mixing. So let's take a look now at what some of the initial reaction has been during some of our early previews.
Wow. Seems like you hit a pretty good home run. So it can very much do anything you want it, anything you need it to do. Because flexibility on the I/O is exactly how you'd want it to be.
This personally helps me out, especially since I already own 3 or 4 different Roland stage boxes. To be able to actually use all of them at one time, if I need them, that works really great for me.
I like the coloured legends and labelling, all that's very good.
I've been touring and using Roland gear now for probably 6 years. Never had any problems with it in terms of tourability, reliability, sound quality. Never had any problems with complaints from anybody with anything that's ever gone in or out of it. I've never had to supplement it with anything. You just know what you're going to get. It's going to be the best thing that you're ever going to want, really, to be fair. And now it's a surface and a console that's big enough to do any of the events, any of the big events, anything that you ever want it to do. Really happy to see the new M5000. Great looking console. It's got a feature set that's going to blow everything else out of the market. It's Roland, so it's always going to work. It's always going to sound great. Tourable, the right size, not too big, not too small. A really, really good new console from Roland.
No, it's very nice. Yeah. I like all the features you've mentioned. Really proper features, not just bells and whistles.
It seems that Roland's done its homework. You've looked at a lot of what's out there and made sure that's catered for. I know it comes fully loaded with all the networking you could require. It just looks a very exciting prospect, and I think it's going to raise a few eyebrows.
I'm blown away. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. You guys have brought something into your universe that adds a lot of value to all of your existing customers.
We do very large bands to very small bands, and the adaptability and flexibility would allow us to be able to do any band that comes through center staging.
Pretty exciting, right? So we've really only been able to skim the surface in introducing this console to you today. Tons of power under the hood. That and its ability to work with the whole ecosystem family of Pro AV products from Roland gives it an enormous amount of configurability right out of the gate. Not to mention its ability to tie into now Dante networks, MADI systems, and use the powerful plugins from the Waves product line. Now, more info is available by going to the website showing on your screen now. What's there is the ability for you to sign up to stay current with all the latest information, videos, and also be able to sign up to be among the first to get your hands on this unit, to try it out for yourself. Needless to say, we're very excited about what the OHRCA platform and the M-5000 live mixing console delivers as a solution that's ready to adapt to any application. So thanks for tuning in today, and we look forward to connecting with many of you in the near future.